Hey there, welcome back. We're diving into a philosophy that's been, well, it seems like it's been having a bit of a resurgence lately.
Yeah,
Stoicism.
and with good reason. There's a lot of really practical tools there for just about every challenge that life can throw at you.
Yeah, and it's not just about keeping a stiff upper lip, right? It's
Right?
it's more than that.
Yeah. Think of it more as a practical guide to resilience and wisdom and just living a good life. The Stoics, they developed a whole system for becoming your best self no matter what life throws at you.
Okay, so more than just being, emotionless. I've heard about like famous Stoics like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, and I mean, they weren't exactly known for being unemotional.
Exactly. It's really fascinating how many different kinds of people have found value in Stoicism. I mean, you're talking about emperors and presidents, artists, writers, entrepreneurs. I mean, it's almost like a secret weapon for success that people have been using throughout history.
I'm sold. So let's get into the basics. What is Stoicism at its core?
Well, at its heart, Stoicism is really all about understanding what you can and cannot control. So you focus your energy on the things that you can actually influence, like your thoughts and your actions, and you let go of the things that you can't, like the weather or other people's opinions.
That makes sense. But where did this philosophy even come from? Didn't it start with like a shipwreck or something?
It did. Around 304 BC, there was a merchant named Zeno of Citium, and he ended up losing, well, almost everything he had in a shipwreck.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he ended up in Athens and really dove headfirst into philosophy and ended up, well, creating his own school of thought.
So a major setback led to a really powerful philosophy. Sometimes you have to lose everything to find yourself.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And Zeno, he started teaching his ideas on a painted porch called the Stoa Porcile, which is actually where the name Stoicism comes from.
So Stoicism started on a porch. That's pretty down to earth for a philosophy that's influenced so many powerful people. It wasn't just Zeno though, right? Weren't there some other big Stoic thinkers?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Inspired by Zeno, a lot of really great thinkers came after him.
Okay.
Think of them as the Stoic all-stars. You've got Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus. They each embody the Stoic principles, but in their own way.
Okay, those are some big names. Let's start with Marcus Aurelius. Didn't he keep a journal?
He did. It's called Meditations. And yeah, it's considered one of the most important works of Stoic philosophy. I mean, this was the emperor of Rome reflecting on how to be a better leader, how to be a better person.
Wait, so the most powerful guy in the world writing about personal growth.
I know.
That's pretty interesting.
Isn't it? And then you've got Seneca, who was a playwright and an advisor to Emperor Nero. I mean, can you imagine the stress of that job?
Yeah, not exactly a walk in the park. So what did he write about?
Well, he wrote letters, and they were full of advice on navigating all of life's challenges. His writings, they're packed with this timeless wisdom on dealing with everything from anxiety and grief to finding meaning in life.
It's a theme, isn't it? Facing hardship and finding wisdom. Okay, so tell me about Epictetus.
Epictetus, he has a particularly incredible story. He went from being a slave to becoming one of the most influential Stoic teachers.
Wow.
Talk about overcoming adversity.
Yeah. So from emperor to advisor to a former slave, Stoicism clearly resonated with people from all walks of life.
Absolutely.
But what were these like shared principles that drew them to Stoicism? What were they all about?
Well, at the heart of Stoic philosophy, you have four key virtues: courage, temperance, justice, and wisdom. The Stoics, they believed that by developing these virtues, you could live a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
Okay, four virtues. Like having what is it, like an inner toolkit for life?
Yeah.
Can you break that down a little bit? What do these virtues mean in practice?
Yeah, so imagine them as like pillars of strong character. You've got courage to face your fears and to do the right thing even when it's difficult.
Okay.
You've got temperance to find balance and moderation in all areas of your life. Justice to treat other people fairly and contribute to the common good. And then wisdom. Wisdom is like the culmination of all the other virtues. It guides your actions and helps you make sound decisions.
I love that. The Stoic virtues, your inner toolkit. Courage, temperance, justice, and wisdom. I'm writing this down. But how do you actually put these virtues into practice? Isn't that where the Stoic exercises come in?
You got it. The Stoics, they developed a whole set of exercises, almost like mental workouts, to help you cultivate these virtues and live a more Stoic life. Think of them as practical tools for building resilience and navigating the ups and downs of life.
Right, I'm ready to get practical. Hit me with these Stoic exercises. What's the first one we're tackling?
Okay, let's start with a really fundamental Stoic concept. It's called the dichotomy of control. It's all about reducing stress by recognizing what you can and cannot influence.
Okay, I'm always up for less stress. Can you give me like a real-world example? Let's say I'm stuck in traffic and I'm already late for a meeting. How does the dichotomy of control help me in that situation? So I'm stuck in traffic and I'm already late for this meeting. Like, how does the dichotomy of control help me out?
Well, think about it. You can't control the traffic, right? I mean, you can honk your horn and get frustrated, but that's not going to make the cars magically disappear.
True.
But what you can control is how you react to the situation.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
So instead of like fuming and letting the traffic ruin my day, I could use that time to do something productive, like listen to a podcast or
Exactly.
even like brainstorm ideas for the meeting.
Yeah, the dichotomous control, it helps you focus on what you can influence. Your thoughts, your actions, your attitude.
Right.
It's about accepting what you can't change and then just making the most of the situation that you're in.
Okay, that's actually really helpful. It's like shifting your perspective from I'm a victim of circumstance to like I'm in control of my own experience. What's the next Stoic exercise that can help me level up my mental game?
Let's talk about journaling. I know it sounds pretty simple,
Yeah.
but the Stoics, they were big believers in writing down their thoughts and reflections. It's not just about keeping a diary, though.
Okay.
It's about intentionally applying those Stoic principles to your daily life.
So it's like having a conversation with yourself guided by Stoic wisdom.
Exactly.
I could see how that would help you internalize the concepts and actually make them more actionable.
Think of it as your own personal Stoic training ground. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, they all kept journals to work through challenges, to practice their principles and to become better versions of themselves.
It's like having those Stoic greats as your personal accountability partners.
Right.
Okay, I'm sold on journaling. What's the next exercise we should add to our Stoic toolkit?
This one might seem a little counterintuitive, but stick with me. It's called practicing misfortune.
Practicing misfortune. Okay, that doesn't sound very fun. Why would anyone intentionally want to practice being unlucky?
Well, it's not about seeking out misfortune. It's more about mentally preparing yourself for those inevitable challenges that life throws your way.
Hmm.
Seneca, he was a wealthy man, but he actually suggested that you should set aside time each month to practice poverty. He'd wear his oldest clothes, eat the simplest food, and sleep on the floor just to remind himself that comfort and luxury were fleeting.
Okay, I have to admit that's pretty hardcore. But I guess it's about building resilience, right? Kind of like a mental fire drill.
Exactly. By intentionally exposing yourself to discomfort, even in small ways, you build up your inner strength and you prepare yourself to handle whatever life throws at you.
I remember a time when I went camping with like bare bones supplies just to, challenge myself and see how I would handle it. It definitely wasn't glamorous,
Right.
but it was a good reminder that I could handle more than I thought I could.
Exactly. By practicing misfortune, you're inoculating yourself against anxieties of the unknown.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this all fits together now. So we've got the dichotomy of control for managing our reactions, journaling for reflection and self-improvement, and practicing misfortune for building resilience. What other Stoic exercises can help us navigate those ups and downs of life?
Let's talk about training perceptions. This one is all about recognizing that our judgments and our interpretations of events, those often cause us more suffering than the events themselves.
So it's not the event itself, but our reaction to it that really matters. It reminds me of that saying, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it,
Yeah,
right?
that's a perfect way to put it. The Stoics, they understood that we can't control what happens to us, but we can control how we perceive it and how we respond to those events.
Okay, but how do you actually train your perceptions? Can you give me like a concrete example?
Sure, imagine you're walking down the street and somebody bumps into you and doesn't apologize. Your initial reaction, it might be anger or annoyance, right?
Oh, yeah.
But what if instead of getting upset, you chose to see it from a different perspective? Maybe they're having a really bad day, or maybe they're just distracted and they didn't even realize they bumped into you.
So it's about reframing the situation, finding a more positive or at least a less negative interpretation.
Exactly.
Instead of taking it personally, you choose to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Right. And this isn't about being naive or letting people walk all over you. It's about choosing your response and not letting those external events dictate your emotional state.
It's about taking control of your inner world, even when the outer world feels really chaotic.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a few powerful exercises for managing our reactions and building up resilience. What other Stoic techniques can help us shift our perspective and find more peace of mind?
This next one is a classic. It's called Remember It's All Ephemeral.
Ephemeral. So temporary, fleeting, not lasting forever. I could see how that perspective could be helpful when things are tough, but doesn't it also take away from the joy of the good times? If you're constantly reminding yourself that nothing lasts forever, doesn't that make it harder to, fully appreciate the present moment?
That's a great question, and it's a really common misconception about this exercise. The Stoics weren't advocating for a life devoid of pleasure or enjoyment.
Okay.
It's not about being indifferent to the good things in life.
So it's not about being all doom and gloom, like everything's going to end, so why bother enjoying it?
Exactly. It's more about recognizing that everything in life is constantly changing, both the good and the bad,
Okay.
and that awareness can actually help you savor the present moment even more.
Because you know it's not going to last forever, so you appreciate it all the more while it's here.
Exactly. Think of it this way. If you knew that you only had one more day to see the sunset,
Hmm.
wouldn't you appreciate that sunset even more? Wouldn't you pay more attention to the colors, the clouds, the feeling of the sun on your skin?
Yeah, I definitely would. It's like that saying, you don't know what you've got till it's gone.
Right. By reminding ourselves that everything is ephemeral, we can cultivate a deeper appreciation for the present moment, both the joys and the sorrows.
Okay, I'm getting this. So it's not about being morbid or dwelling on the negative. It's more about recognizing the impermanence of life and using that awareness to live more fully in the present.
Exactly.
I like that. What's next on our list of perspective shifting exercises?
This one builds on the idea of ephemerality. It's called Take the View from Above.
Take the view from above. That sounds interesting. Does this involve a drone or a hot air balloon?
Not quite. The Stoics would use their imagination. They would visualize themselves looking down on Earth from a great height, just seeing everything from a cosmic perspective.
Like you're an astronaut. I've heard that astronauts often experience a really profound shift in perspective when they see the Earth from space. They feel this sense of awe and this interconnectedness with all of humanity.
You're exactly right. And that's what the Stoics were tapping into, that same sense of awe and perspective, even without, the benefit of space travel. They imagine, like, bustling cities and vast oceans, empires rising and falling,
Wow.
all from this high vantage point.
I can see how that would help you put your own problems into perspective.
Right.
When you realize how vast and interconnected everything is, your everyday worries seems a little less significant.
Exactly. And it's not just about shrinking our problems, it's also about recognizing our shared humanity. We're all in this together, sharing this brief journey on this tiny planet.
It's like that feeling you get when you look up at the stars at night and realize how small and insignificant you are in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
It's humbling and awe-inspiring all at the same time.
And the Stoics, they found that this perspective could be incredibly liberating. It helps them let go of those petty anxieties and focus on what truly mattered.
So Take the View from Above is about expanding your perspective, finding humility, and connecting to something larger than yourself. I love that. What's the next Stoic exercise we should explore?
This one might sound a bit morbid, but it's actually incredibly powerful.
Okay.
It's called Memento Mori.
Memento Mori. That translates to remember that you will die, right? I've heard that phrase before, but I always thought it was a bit gloomy.
Yeah.
How can remembering your own mortality be a positive thing?
While it seems kind of counterintuitive, the Stoics saw Memento Mori as a powerful motivator to live a more meaningful life. By acknowledging our own mortality, we're reminded that our time is precious and shouldn't be wasted on trivial pursuits or anxieties.
So it's not about dwelling on death or being afraid of it, but about using the awareness of your own mortality to inspire you to live more fully in the present.
Exactly. Seneca would often advise his students to start each day by reminding themselves that they might not live to see the sunset.
Wow, that's a pretty intense way to start your day, but I would see how it would shift your perspective. If you knew that today could be your last day, you'd probably make very different choices about how you spent your time.
Right.
You'd focus on what truly mattered and let go of the things that didn't.
Precisely. Memento Mori helps us prioritize our values and live with greater intentionality.
Okay, so it's about using the awareness of death to fuel a more vibrant and purposeful life. I'm starting to see the wisdom in that. What's the next exercise on our list?
This one's a bit like a mental fire drill.
Okay.
It's called premeditatio malorum.
Premeditatio malorum. Okay, that sounds a little intimidating. What does it mean and how does it work?
It essentially means premeditation of evils.
Oh,
But don't worry, it's not as dark as it sounds.
okay.
It's about anticipating and mentally preparing for potential challenges.
So it's about running through, like, worst-case scenarios in your head. Doesn't that just make you more anxious?
Not necessarily. The key is to approach it in a detached, almost strategic way. You're not dwelling on those negative emotions, but you're mentally rehearsing how you would respond to those challenges if they were to occur.
It's like having a mental game plan for dealing with whatever life throws your way. I do that sometimes before, like a big presentation or a job interview. I think about what could go wrong so I could be prepared to handle it.
That's a great example. Seneca used to do this all the time. He would imagine, like, potential disruptions to his plans, like a storm delaying his travels or a sudden illness.
So it's not about being pessimistic or expecting the worst, but about being mentally prepared to handle whatever comes your way. And that can actually reduce anxiety, right? Because you feel more in control, even when facing unpredictable circumstances.
You got it. Premeditatio malorum helps you develop a sense of mental preparedness and resilience.
Okay, I'm feeling more and more like I'm building up my Stoic toolkit.
Yeah.
We've covered so many powerful exercises already. Is there anything else we should add to our arsenal?
Well, we've covered a lot of the foundational practices,
Okay.
but there's one more that we should discuss.
Okay.
It's considered the pinnacle of Stoic practice,
Ooh.
and it's called amor fati.
Amor fati. That translates to love of fate, right? Okay, I'm intrigued, but also a little skeptical. How can you love everything that happens, including the bad stuff? That seems like a really tall order.
Right. It's definitely the most challenging of the Stoic practices, but
Okay.
it's also incredibly powerful. Amor fati, it's not about finding joy in suffering, but about seeing everything that happens to you as part of a larger, cosmic plan.
So it's about trusting that everything happens for a reason, even if we don't understand that reason in the moment.
Exactly. And it's about recognizing that our struggles and our challenges, those can ultimately lead to growth and transformation.
It's like that saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But Amor fati takes it a step further, doesn't it? It's not just about enduring hardship, but about actually embracing it.
Yes. And the Stoics often use the analogy of fire. Just as fire transforms everything it touches into fuel for its own flames, we too can use our experiences, both positive and negative, to fuel our own growth and become stronger.
So it's about surrendering to the flow of life, trusting the process, and finding meaning in every experience, even the difficult ones.
Exactly.
That's a beautiful idea, but I have to admit, it's still a little hard for me to wrap my head around.
It is a challenging concept, and it takes time and practice to cultivate, but it's worth striving for.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've got the 4 Stoic virtues: courage, temperance, justice, and wisdom. And we've explored some of the key Stoic exercises for putting those virtues into practice.
Yeah.
I'm feeling pretty inspired, but I'm also wondering, for someone who's totally new to Stoicism, where should they start? Are there any books or resources you recommend? So many great exercises. For a newbie, where's a good place to start learning more about Stoicism?
Well, the Stoics were prolific writers, so luckily for us, they left behind a wealth of knowledge. Some of the classics include Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, Letters from a Stoic by Seneca, and Discourses by Epictetus.
I've seen those around. Are there any modern books that you would suggest?
Oh, absolutely. The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman is a really great option.
Okay.
It's full of daily meditations and just practical tips for applying Stoic ideas to modern life.
Oh, and I've heard great things about The Obstacle is the Way, also by Ryan Holiday.
Oh, yeah.
It really dives deep into that idea of turning obstacles into opportunities, right?
That's a good one. It really helps you reframe challenges and see them as opportunities for growth.
Yeah, it's amazing how this ancient philosophy is finding new life in today's world.
Yeah.
I mean, there are online communities, podcasts, even apps, all dedicated to Stoicism.
Yeah, it speaks to how relevant Stoicism remains even thousands of years later. I mean, these are timeless tools for dealing with stress, adversity, and finding meaning in life.
It makes you wonder, if you could go back in time and have a conversation with one of the Stoic greats, what would you ask them?
Ooh, that is a thought-provoking question. I think I'd want to know how they actually applied these principles in their own lives.
Yeah.
Amidst all the chaos and uncertainty of their time.
Yeah, it's easy to talk about these ideas in the abstract,
Right.
but seeing how they were put into practice by people who faced, real challenges, I think that's what brings them to life.
Absolutely. And that's what we've tried to do in this deep dive.
Yeah.
Not just present the theory of Stoicism, but show you how these practices can be applied to your own life, starting today.
So as you go about your day, your week, your life, keep those Stoic virtues in mind: courage, temperance, justice, and wisdom.
Yeah.
Experiment with the exercises we've discussed.
Yeah, don't feel like you have to do them all at once.
Yeah.
Just start with one that really resonates with you and see how it impacts your perspective.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the dichotomy of control to help you manage stress, or training perceptions to help you choose a more positive response.
And remember, the journey of Stoicism, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
That's a great analogy.
It's about small steps, taken consistently, that can lead to big changes in how you see and interact with the world.
And just imagine, even if you only incorporate one small piece of Stoic wisdom into your life,
Yeah.
think about the ripple effects that could have.
Maybe you handle a stressful situation with more grace and composure.
Yeah.
Or maybe you choose to see a challenge as an opportunity.
Right.
Or maybe you simply find yourself just feeling a little bit more calm and centered and purposeful in your day-to-day life.
Exactly.
And who knows, maybe by embracing these ancient practices, we can all contribute to a slightly more Stoic world, a world where reason and virtue and resilience are valued above all else.
That's a world I would like to live in.
Me too. Well, I think we did it. We took a deep dive into the world of Stoicism, exploring its history, its key figures, and most importantly, its practical tools for navigating life's challenges.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating journey. We hope you found something valuable to take away from this deep dive.
So as you go forth, remember the Stoics,
Yes.
remember their wisdom, and remember that you have the power to choose how you respond to whatever life throws your way.
And never stop exploring. The world of Stoicism is vast and rich, and there's always more to learn and discover.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Stoicism. Until next time.